Thank you all for coming. My name is Luz Tavares. I'm Director of Government Relations at Catholic Charities here in the New York Archdiocese. And I want to thank you all for coming today. Welcome to the New York Catholic Center, where for the last month, we've been seeing hundreds of migrants arriving at our doors, and Catholic Charities has been doing what we always do, welcoming and helping in the best way that we know how. And to tell you a little bit more about that, let me introduce our Executive Director, Monsignor Kevin Sullivan.
Bravo. So thank you for being here. This morning, Cardinal Dolan met with individuals and families who have recently arrived in New York, fleeing violence, persecution, poverty in their own countries to seek safety, protection, and opportunity in the United States. His pastoral and humanitarian presence continues the Church's tradition and commitment to stand with those in threatening and dangerous situations. Catholic Charities has been steadfast in accompanying immigrants and refugees to the United States for over a century on their perilous journey to these opportunities. In the past 6 weeks alone, more than 1,500 men, women, and children have arrived suddenly and unexpectedly at our doorsteps. Catholic Charities' dedicated staff stopped business as usual, turned to greet them with respect, with compassion, with dignity and professionalism. Our staff is trained. They have sacrificed. Many asylum seekers have arrived hungry. They have been provided with food. Some have needed clothes, and they've received clothes. They have needed timely information, and we've given them good information about shelter and other things they need to get around this city. Our immigration attorneys have reviewed their documents and held clinics to make sure they comply with court check-ins and court appointments. So permit me to say thanks to our volunteers who also have helped us, our business partners, like from Driscoll, who have stepped up and graciously, generously responded in this crisis, and also to some of our Catholic philanthropic partners who've indicated their willingness to step up in this crisis. I need to add a word of recognition to New York City officials. From the onset of this upsurge, New York City has welcomed those coming here. And even though this surge is unprecedented, and yes, there have been glitches, understandably caused by this crisis, they've never shirked from accepting their responsibility to provide shelter as a right for those in New York City, even if those in New York City only arrived a few hours ago. We continue to look forward to working with New York City as a reception center is established to help our new New Yorkers navigate this city better. We're pleased also of the cooperation that has been pledged by New York State to continue the legacy of New York as a welcoming place in our country. Now let me add that the magnitude of this situation which we are experiencing now requires broader than New York City, New York State. It requires the federal government's response to this crisis of the Americas. 6 million Venezuelan refugees, hundreds of thousands in other Central and South American countries. Humane reception centers need to be set up near the border. Sufficient funding to meet increased need for shelter, housing, food at the border and the interior. And the same humanitarian parole and work authorization response that was rightly afforded to Ukrainians and Afghans is needed for asylum seekers in our own hemisphere. And so I say thank you for being here. There is frustration of the upsurge of the past week, but there is pride in being a New Yorker, that we're stepping up to the plate. And there's hope, too, that shortly, with a little bit of help, those who have arrived recently, these individuals and families, will be contributing to the vibrancy and the economy of New York as other immigrants have for more than a century. With that, let me introduce Catholic Charities Immigration Attorney in Charge, Marianne Therapel, to talk about some of the legal realities that we are experiencing.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today, and I want to reiterate several points that Monsignor made, as well as bring you all aware of an issue that you are likely already knowing about, the notices to appear and hearing notices that have been improperly addressed by government officials at the southern border. It is our understanding that immigrants are being told to come to New York and other sanctuary cities across the country to receive help, support, housing, showers, shelter, and legal assistance at Catholic Charities and other nonprofits throughout the country. To date, Catholic Charities has received over 300 notices to appear. I've brought a sample of them here today that all of you can see. These notices all list 1011 First Avenue, 80 Maiden Lane, our Kennedy Center in the Bronx. These are not residential addresses. These are not spaces that are able to accommodate these immigrants. And worse, the government is assuming that these are addresses that they can receive mail at, that this is a place that they can inform them about their court cases, about upcoming deadlines related to their requirements to check in with ICE, and that this is a safe address to use as a removal defense attorney would say for anything related to their court case, right? This is not their address. These are clients we have never encountered. The notices are dated for people who have entered the country within the last several weeks. They have not even made it to New York, many of them, the notices that we have received. We are working carefully with our national partners to hold the federal government accountable. It is important, as Monsignor stated, that the federal government step in and ensure that the southern border officials are in fact practicing humane and dignified resourcing to allow entrance of these immigrants into the United States. Catholic Charities remains dedicated to meeting the needs of people in removal proceedings. Through our Immigration Court Help Desk, we are present at the court 20 days a month, serving unrepresented respondents, and we have seen increasing numbers of immigrants at 26 Federal Plaza, where many of you have been. Lines around the corner, seeking assistance, understanding what these court papers mean, and wanting support in navigating the system. We too are committed to work with New York City to provide legal services for this community and to ensure that every immigrant has the information that they need to proceed thoughtfully with their immigration case before the Immigration Court. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Now I'd like to introduce Mariana Dueñas. Mariana is one of our case managers that has been at the forefront of working with these arriving families. Mariana?
Thank you. It's a privilege, to be here. And the only thing that I can say is in the past 3 weeks, Catholic Charities, one more time, had been embracing families, women, children, men, who had been, traveling during, a really, really horrific journey to get here to work, because they are escaping really from a horrible situation, insecurity, persecution. Their resilience, it had been really, really significant. So it's not only, the services that we provide, it's how we embrace each one of them with hope, okay, as a human being. Dignify, their journey, dignify as a women and men. So it will be my privilege, to introduce you right now. Jennifer Barico I can say that she's a Venezuelan warrior who will explain to you their journey, to get here. Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer. Buenos días. Buenos días.
Mi nombre es Jennifer Barico. Estoy acá en representación de mi hermoso país, Venezuela. Agradecida primeramente a Dios por mantenerme acá al lado de estas maravillosas personas.
Okay.
Okay.
That her name is Jennifer and that she's from Venezuela and she's thankful to God for the help that she's received.
Thank you. Agradecida por esta gran oportunidad que me brinda la señora Mariana de pertenecer a esta hermosa labor que conjuntamente con estas bellas personas nos están brindando a todos los que estamos llegando a su país.
And she's thankful to Mariana for this beautiful human being, for all that she's been able to provide, and she's just thankful for this help.
Thank you. Como decía, por estas maravillosas personas y la hermosa labor que nos brindan para todos nosotros que estamos acá. De verdad, mil gracias de todo corazón y nuevamente gracias a todos ustedes por toda esta organización y a usted especialmente, señora Mariana.
She's thankful from the bottom of her heart for the help, especially this marvelous person, Mariana. Thank you.
Si me quieren hacer una pregunta.
Okay. Gracias. Your Eminence, would you kindly say a word to the group and bless the group that's here?
Mariana, I'm very jealous. You're getting more attention than I am. I am really grateful for your company today. I've never been more proud or more grateful for Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese than now, to see how they once again have risen to an occasion of need and emergency. The work of Catholic Charities goes on all the time. They're old hands at this. They're used to doing it and doing it with immense respect and dignity and efficiency. So no wonder people would turn to us. I had a statement to say, but something just changed about 45 minutes ago when I visited with some of our newly arrived families. And it dawns on me, these just aren't cases. These just aren't problems. These just aren't statistics. These are not just refugees and asylum seekers in the plural. These are people with names and with dads and moms. These are husbands and wives and kids. And we love them and we welcome them. I was so happy to see them happy to be here. They've just been through turmoil. Some of them for months have been walking from Colombia and Venezuela. And now they feel somewhat a casa, at home. And just to see them and to love them and see their immense gratitude to New York City, to the United States of America, to the church which they love and which they tell me has helped them all along the way, that's a cause for a lot of gratitude. So that you're here today, folks, to get the word out about what we're doing, hallelujah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Thank you all for coming. We'll take some questions. We have a number of staff and clients available to answer questions now.
I'm wondering if you can tell us if there have been any plans made to enter the kids who have come here into schools, either Catholic schools or public schools, so they can be educated here in this country. And if you could tell us how many students, how many kids have come here and how many you think you're going to have to accommodate.
Marcia, thanks. That's a sensitive question, and it only validates what I had noticed earlier. These people just want to get settled. They want a normal life, and they're grateful to be here. And to have their children in school is a high priority. Right before I came down, Monsignor Sullivan told me we have scholarships available for these kids to go to our Catholic schools. And Mick Deegan, who's the superintendent of our Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of New York, has told me the same thing. We're used to doing that. Remember when we did that after the Haitian earthquake? Remember when we did that with the Afghans? We're getting ready to do that for the Ukrainians that are beginning to come, so that we would be ready to do it now. You bet. Thanks for asking.
Let me just add to that, Marsha, at the service center that will be set up in a few weeks, one of the main items there is to ensure that the children are enrolled in schools. So that is a high priority for our welcoming of these families to New York.
Thank you. Do you have concerns about capacity, that at some point with this flood of people coming that you run short of space and just the wherewithal to help?
Capacity is always an issue, and it is always something that we are trying to deal with. We have been strained here at Catholic Charities in receiving over 1,500 people. We respond. We change, we pivot. New York City does that all the time with newcomers as new waves of immigrants come. There are always some glitches when we do that. Some things do fall between the cracks. But as New Yorkers, we figure out how to expand our capacity to meet the newcomers, which is, again, we don't see this as merely a local problem. It's a national problem. And as a nation, we need to deal with the crisis that we are dealing with.
The capacity is a perceptive question. I'm reminded what we saw in our April visit to the Ukrainian border. And they told us then, they said, right now, we're doing okay in welcoming them, getting them fed and healed and clothed and settled. But if this keeps up, we're going to have a problem with capacity, and I think that's what you're saying.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Thank you. Will any people here be taken to the proposed city shelter? I think it's the Times Square or Milford Plaza Hotel. Will they be diverted there?
Juliet, I don't want to speak for New York City, but already New York City is providing shelter for many of the people who you see here. We're not providing shelter here. We're interviewing, we're providing other types of assistance. So already the city has stepped up to the plate in providing shelter for the new arrivals. What I think you're referring to is the fact of the capacity issue, that the city knows it needs to expand that capacity to meet the needs. So it's already happening. What I think we saw this morning is the attempt for the city to keep pace with the increased demand.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. How are the immigration courts handling missed court appearances due to them the summons being addressed to the wrong location? Are they issuing deportation orders? And secondly, are you still seeing families separated into different shelters by DHS? Is that an ongoing issue?
I'll just say that regarding the shelter issue, you have to ask the city about that question. I'll let Mary Ann deal with the legal question.
Hi, thank you. That's a very good question. So we've actually, for every notice we've received, we have informed the court and the Department of Homeland Security. So we scan the notice and send it to both parties to inform them that, one, this is not a residential address, which should inform the Department of Homeland Security that they do not have a reason to prosecute. They're being made aware that this, in fact, is not an accurate residential address for this individual. We also, through our immigration court help desk, are present at the court 20 times a month and have been working to ensure that individuals who are being seen at the court are aware of their rights, but also that if we see a practice of what's called in absentia, removals in your absence, that we're noting to the court, have you checked whether this address is an NGO address or a true residential address? We are also working with our national partners, CCUSA, as well as Clinic, to ensure that the Department of Homeland Security headquarters takes necessary actions to cease and desist this notice to appear and hearing notice practice at the southern border. I can tell you, as recently as the end of last week and this week, we've continued to receive notices. So it has not stopped, and advocacy around this issue is ongoing.
Monsignor, Cardinal, how would you describe the church's perspective with this entire enterprise or this in helping the immigrants, the church's perspective?
Well, I would say our perspective is simply based on the we try to see with the eyes of Jesus, and he's the one who said to us, when I was a stranger, when I was an immigrant, you welcomed me. So that's our perspective, and seeing in these people the image and likeness of God and trying to respond as Jesus taught us to do. Our perspective is not the political, our perspective is not how did we get in this mess. Our perspective is simply to help them, to reach out to them. We do that all the time, and we try to do it better all the time. But that's our perspective, a sense of honor that we're able to help these people in whom we see the face of God.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. Two questions. The first question is, the service center, is this run by Catholic Charities or will it be run by the city? And I have a question for Jennifer. I don't know if she can tell us a little bit about her trip here to the United States, which she endured, and about her first night here in New York City. Do you want me to translate?
Jennifer, una pregunta para usted, si nos puedes contar un poco de el trayecto, lo que pasaste a llegar aquí a los Estados Unidos y también cuando llegaste a Nueva York, ¿dónde te quedaste el primer día?
Mi experiencia, lo hago a nivel global de todas las personas que cruzaron conmigo. La pregunta en realidad, ¿cómo me fue en el trayecto de Venezuela hasta acá? Duro, muy duro. Pasamos infinidad de cosas, pero le doy gracias a Dios que nos lo permitió estar acá.
Jennifer is explaining that she's crossed with many other people, so she can speak from the experience of having crossed with a group of people, and that it was very, very difficult to cross, and all the experiences that she's had. Very many difficult things happened when she got here, on her way here.
Desde un principio sabemos que exponemos nuestras vidas muy duro, pero es eso o nada. No solamente cruzan niños, abuelitos, jóvenes y personas como yo ya, pero es duro. También muchas personas quedan en el intento.
That not only people like her crossed, but children, grandparents, young people, adolescents, people like her, all these people experiencing a very difficult situation.
¿Sí? Son muchas situaciones duras, naturales, psicológicas, mentales, porque puedes entrar con una meta, pero en el camino te puedes bloquear por todo lo que ves, todo lo que tienes que vivir.
That many of the things that she's experienced were either natural phenomenon, weather, psychological, mental stress, all that she's had to go through to arrive here.
Pero es todo por una mejor calidad de vida. Y sé que acá la podemos conseguir con mucho trabajo y esfuerzo. Sé que lo vamos a conseguir. A esas personas que lograron estar acá, solo le puedo decir que dejemos a nuestro país en alto, trabajando duro.
That she's come here for a change, for a better life, for more opportunities, and even though it's so difficult, she's come for a better opportunity, and she wishes to work hard and contribute.
La pregunta que me hiciste es que ¿dónde fue el primer día acá en Nueva York? Un Chester, todos no contamos con la ayuda de tener a alguien que nos reciba. Y nos ha ido bien, gracias a Dios, gracias a todas las organizaciones que aportan de una u otra manera a donde estamos y donde Dios nos irá a poner, pero nos ha ido bien, gracias a Dios.
That she spent her first night in New York City in a shelter, and she said it was a good shelter, and she was very grateful for the opportunity, for the support of all the organizations that have helped her and for the safety of the shelter.
Si quieres saber algo más, vine con mi pareja, pero ahorita actualmente estamos por situaciones de trabajo. Pero tengo unas hermanas guerreras, compañeras, que me acompañan ahora acá.
That she was here with her partner, and that she's here with others who are struggling with the same fight. So thank you, Jennifer.
To the second part, or the first part of your question, this will be a center that the city is setting up. They will be responsible for the facility. However, it will be nonprofit agencies like Catholic Charities and others who will be providing the services at the city reception center. I believe the city hopes to get it up on August 25th. No, the hotels are the shelters where people are able to spend time because New York City has a right to shelter. The service center, the reception center, is to make sure that they get the information, the services they need to actually make it in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I gave a blessing to our beloved people. The press wants a blessing? How about absolution? Right? Listen, again, I thank God. I thank you, dear Lord, for the presence of these men and women who always show a passion for this community and who want to get the good and the bad word out there. And today they're helping us highlight people who are very dear to you and close to the Sacred Heart of your Son, our beloved asylum seekers and refugees. So guide them and inspire them in their work in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks again, folks.
Thank you so much. Marianne, you answered my question about the fact that people are still coming with bad addresses on their forms. But for the Archbishop and Monsignor, there were some actually egregious examples where we've reported on them, where a border agent, instead of signing the form, drew a picture with a tongue sticking out. It seemed to be mocking the migrant. It's something that the Homeland Security Agency is now looking into. Two-part question. Archbishop, are you planning to reach out to, in person to the Biden administration about the treatment of these migrants, or is that sort of your purpose here today? And then I have just a technical question for Marianne.
Thanks for those observations, however nasty the incidents you reported have been. This is another thing that's enhanced my respect for the people upstairs. They've had a terrible journey, but yet they're filled. I don't see any animosity or any. They're filled with gratitude. They said people have helped us on the way. The church has been there. Different government agencies have been there, and private organizations like Patrick's. And they just seem to be so grateful and relieved to be here. You know, thank God we bishops have the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops that does a great job of outreach and advocacy to the government. We have the New York State Conference. Texas has the Texas Catholic Conference. So the advocacy you asked about will go on through those excellent organizations. I figure Monsignor and I will be part of it.
Okay. Do you want to take that question? Take that all offline. Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Christine Persichetti, anchor of Currents News. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button on this video. And if you want to see more content just like it, subscribe and click on the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, because we are putting your faith in the news.